Very pleased to be here with Lutfur Rahman, who's the first directly elected mayor of Tower Hamlets and just been re-elected in a very large turnout election that had a lot of political scrutiny. You're the first Asian mayor in Britain, the first Muslim directly elected mayor, I should say, as well. Welcome and thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, and thank you for agreeing to interview me.
Just wanted to get out the way the first thing. There's been so much coverage of the election petition, what happened on election day. What were your thoughts on that, and what's happening with the election petition at the moment?
Well, first of all, I was very pleased that there was a good turnout. Some 85,000 people came out on the day and voted, 50% plus. Absolutely, second highest turnout in London. Election has always been, and since I can remember as a teenager, participating in elections, or campaigning, supporting, or voting after voting age. Election has always been a very important occasion in Tower Hamlets, and to the Asian community. If you go to India, go to Bangladesh, go to any democratic country in the world, especially in the Asian subcontinent, election is a big affair.
Everything stops.
Everything stops. It's a holiday. People queue up to go and vote. It's fun. It's festive season, etc. And that's how it's been in Tower Hamlets for the last 30 years. So this year is no different from 2010 May local elections, or 2006 local election, 2002 local election, or 1998 local election, or 94 local election.
There does seem to be a racial element in the way that this election's being talked about. I was outside the Troxy. There was a great atmosphere, there was no intimidation or danger to anybody, yet that was reported as, there's a Muslim crowd outside, that there's some, Sadiq Khan's unsafe.
It's so sad, so sad, it's unfortunate. There are some people who are hell-bent on portraying Tower Hamlets in a particular way. There's a small minority, but they have a very big voice, they have friends in some quarters of the national media who want to destroy the reputation of Tower Hamlets and this administration. But if you look back at last 30 years, if you look back at last 3 local elections, 2 general elections, it's always been a lively affair. In 2010, after my victory in York Hall, there was a big crowd who was celebrating, male, female, people of various ages celebrating to 3 or 4 in the morning. This year, similarly, in front of Trotsky, people are celebrating, they were waiting for the results. On the one hand, we want people to participate, we want them to get involved, we want them to celebrate. On the other hand, when they do that, some people get offended. They say something wrong has been committed. The police have said there was no wrongdoing on the election day in Tower Hamlets, there was no wrongdoing leading up to the election, and we should accept that. But some people still won't accept that. However, despite the petition, as far as I'm concerned, as far as my administration are concerned, the officers of this council are concerned, the councillors are concerned, we are here to deliver. We are on track on delivering and fulfilling our manifesto pledge and making sure on the last occasion, each and every element of our manifesto is delivered, so we continue to support, to promote and deliver for the people of this borough. The petition will come and go. I'm very confident that I have, as a lawyer, I have a full confidence in the justice system of this great country, and I think justice will be administered properly, fairly, and I don't believe that the petition will succeed if this matter does go to a trial. But it is an expensive affair, as a distraction, and we have to deal with it as it proceeds.
And do you think so much of the comments, especially on social media, then reflected in Andrew Gilligan or people like that? There's a visceral anti-Muslim element, and that must affect you, and that must affect the way the way the borough is seen as well. And is that a problem?
The reputation of the borough is important to me. It's important to the people of this borough. Of course, it saddens us. Of course, it disappoints us that there is a certain section of the right-wing media who will twist, who will smear, who will insinuate, and will want to destroy the reputation of me and my administration and the people of this borough. But you know what? I've all along said, and I said it before the last election, the people of this borough will judge me and my administration on our record. And they did judge us, because of which they returned me for the second time with 18 councillors, excellent councillors, to deliver and to serve each and every one of them.
In terms of the future, in the near future, the auditors are in. Eric Pickles seems to be bearing down very hard on this borough in terms of the auditors and East End Life, which is a paper that's covered anti-bedroom tax, firefighter strike, informing elderly people of their care rights or people
benefit caps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's happening with Pickles and the auditors, and what's happening with the East End Life?
Sure. On East End Life, you've said it in your comment. It performs an invaluable service in informing our residents what goes on in the council, what goes on in our community. It's about entertainment, it's about news, it's about events, it's about sporting activities.
Great
and
local history as well.
It's a local history. It's been around for the last 15, 20 years. People have come up to me and have said it's a paper that they want to see. It's a free paper and delivered free to, through the doors for it to continue. And for the government to take a line is disappointing. Nevertheless, until I get a direction, the paper will continue to serve the people of this borough. As to the audit, I've all along said we have nothing to hide in this council. It's a council which has a strong governance, strong financial structures, a council that is a strong leadership, political leadership and officer leadership. There's nothing I can do on my own. It's a partnership between me, my administration and the officers. We have fantastic officers who do a good job and I have full confidence in them. Obviously, we have embraced the audit. We're working with them. We're providing them with all the necessary information. And if there is something that we need to learn after the audit finishes, of course we'll learn from it. But I do not doubt for a second that they will find any wrongdoing on the part of the council. Of course, a process, what is a good process today may not be a good process in 5 years' time. It needs to be updated, it needs to be evolved. Of course, if there are comments on the process of how we deliver a service, we're willing to look at it, we're willing to take their comments and improve on our process, which doesn't mean that we've done anything wrong in this council.
I mean, in terms of funding, which you mentioned there, how have you been able to manage these swinging government cuts in Tower Hamlets? You've grown services, you've absorbed the bedroom tax cost. How has that been possible here?
It's about a strong leadership. It's about a leadership that listens to the community, the people of this borough. It's about a leadership that works in partnership with the officers we have in this council. And it's about taking things pragmatically, one step at a time. Of course, we had to find some £130 million of savings during the last term. It's been very difficult. We had to tighten the belt. We have tightened our belt. It's about getting rid of some of our assets. It's about getting rid of some council offices which are surplus to requirements. So, for example, where you are now, but Marbury Place, there was another building called Anchorage House next to it, on which we used to pay some £8 million a year in rent for the lease. After I became the mayor, I said, well, we don't need two buildings. Let's get our staff to one building. Let's tighten our belt. We don't need luxury offices. We can do with hot desking, work in an open planned environment. We freed up that building. We saved £8 million per year indefinitely. So that's an example of how we've worked creatively to find that saving. We have to find another £90 million over the next 3 years. We'll have to. We have no choice. We have to balance that.
And will there be more cuts heaped upon in the next couple of years as well?
Absolutely, some £90 million over the next 3 years, which means that we have to explore all opportunities of doing the business in a new way, running the service in a new way. But I've all along said I would want to protect the vulnerable, the elderly, the youngsters, the disabled, the infirm, and invest and expand where necessary. And we clearly proved that last term, that not one frontline services was cut. We invested money in libraries, we invested money in leisure facilities, we invested money in education and the youth service. We will continue that trend, but obviously, we will have to take the cut, but we'll take the cut where the fat is, rather than affecting the ordinary folks of this borough.
You mentioned education there. I believe Tower Hamlets has just won an award for the best school meals in the country.
Yeah.
You've given a university grant of £1,500 to school leavers going to university from the borough, free school meals, for primary school students, EMA replacement. free home care. Can this continue? This focus continue in the next 4 years?
Sure. It's been my commitment, the commitment of my administration, that we have to protect the vulnerable. We have to support the young people of this borough. We have to support our elderly folks. We're the only borough in the country that some of the services, some of the policies, that we're the only ones who delivers those policies. The only borough that we provide free home care. Those elderly need support. They need to be looked after. Or if you force them to sell their homes, whatever little money they may have, equity they may have, sell their homes, sell their assets to buy home care from us, what kind of society are we living in? That's not the reason why I came into politics. I came into politics to deliver the progressive agenda, to serve the very people who have made this country and this borough a great place to live and work in.
And of course, when people have to sell their houses, this adds into the housing crisis, which I want to ask you about. You've been very hard in getting very good value for social housing out of new developments. You've got a decent homes programme where all council houses are being refurbished, but we do have poor doors coming in. We have division, and are private homes good enough homes? Are they decent homes? That's a problem people are facing.
No, absolutely. As I said before, education is one of my top priorities. I'm glad you mentioned some of the policies that we're delivering. And yes, okay, the catering service. We've received fantastic award from the best school meals service in the country. At the same time, only a few weeks ago, we were joint 7th in the country in sending most students to Russell Group of Universities. That shows we're very ambitious for our young people. We've invested some £380 million bringing our schools to a very good standard, in terms of expanding our schools, refurbishing our schools, creating new schools. We want our children to have the best infrastructure, so we can motivate them, we can encourage them to go on to achieve good education, come out and good jobs. That's the only way out, I believe, out of poverty in Tower Hamlets, and it's working for us. At the same time, housing is another one of my top priorities because of the overcrowding in the borough. Some 6,000 people live in overcrowded households. So it breaks my heart to see a family of 8, 10 in 2-bedroom, a family of 6, 7 in a 1-bedroom. Our kids could go on to achieve even more if there's more space in the houses.
To do the homework.
So it's one of my top priorities. Last term, it was my promise to deliver 4,000 affordable homes. We delivered 4,029 homes, so 29 above what I set out in my pledge. This term, I've said we'll deliver 5,500, and we're very confident that with the support, with scrutiny, with challenging the developers, making use of our own space, and securing government grants, that we can deliver those number of social housing. We're very confident. For the last 2 years, we've been consistently, we've been the largest deliverer of social housing, any housing in the country, as a result of which we received some £50 million new homes bonus over the last 3 years. That shows that we're a big player when it comes to housing. We want to bring council housing. It's been brought up to decent standard. I've said in my manifesto that we want to bring the private housing. We want to have a private landlord registration scheme. So each landlord which rents out a house to private tenants, we want them to come within that scheme. If not, we'll fine them. There'll be a penalty. If they come within that, we can work with them, support them to bring their dwelling up to a decent standard too. So we want all our residents.
Tenants are protected as well.
Tenants are protected, absolutely. They feel safe, they feel secure, they can live in a good environment. So work with the private dwellers to make sure that those dwellings are up to a standard, they're fit for human habitation.
In terms of your actual work in the council, there's quite an antagonistic relationship with the Labour group. You, of course, used to be in the Labour Party. How's your relations with them, and what's your thoughts about, there's been a lot of Labour left people have said you should rejoin the Labour Party, and how do you feel about that?
I mean, it is unfortunate that the political system is a very adversarial system rather than a conciliatory system. That's the nature of party politics in this country, in particular in Tower Hamlets being a multi-party system, which is good. However, I mean, there are people within the main opposition party that we have a working relationship with. I extended my hand, like last term, to invite colleagues from the Labour benches into my cabinet. So I thought, let's reach out and let's have a genuine coalition in the council for reasons that only they know. They've refused to join my cabinet like last time. But nevertheless, you know, we have said, look, let's work together where we can. Because at the end of the day, we've all been elected to serve the people of this borough and to deliver good services. Of course, there needs to be a check and balance in democracy, and I'm always out for scrutiny. And you need an effective opposition to scrutinise you, to make sure.
A lot of scrutiny.
I'm always subject to a lot of scrutiny. But I think fair scrutiny is important. Democratic scrutiny is important, so that you know, as an administration, as a leader of this council, that you're delivering on the pledges, and what you're delivering makes a difference for the community.
And talking about the community, we have a very diverse community of all types in this borough.
Absolutely,
a very crowded borough as well. And you know, there's a lot of historic poverty, and racists have been targeting this borough since the 70s, 80s, 90s until last year, and continually. How do you respond to that, and what do you think community response should be to divisions in our community, either from external people or Islamophobia being beamed in from the media to people who live in the borough?
Well, I'm very grateful and fortunate that I grew up in this borough. It's a borough that gave me so much. I am who I am because of my teachers, my parents, people who, my youth workers who contributed to my upbringing and my development. So I owe a lot to this borough, and I'm very grateful for the people of this borough who gave me a chance to serve them. And there's nowhere else I would want to live other than Tower Hamlets. It's a diverse borough. It's been a gateway for the immigrant community over the centuries. You know, we had the French Huguenots, the Jewish community, the Bangladeshi community, and now the Somali community and the community from East Europe. The diversity makes it the rich borough it is. You know, the rich in human quality. Of course, we'll have differences, but we need to understand those differences. But we have more in common than we have differences. We need to accept and celebrate our commonness. And what keeps us going is the need to have more social housing, the need to have jobs and opportunities, keep our streets clean, and the fact that we want to bring up our children here and we want to age gracefully. The fact that we have people from all backgrounds, whether you're Hindu, you're Sikh, you're Jewish, or Muslim, or people of no faith, or people from the LGBT community. We are one community. And for me, there's no place for hate in Tower Hamlets. You know, I will not tolerate any hate in this borough, and we will want to clamp down on them immediately with the force of law or any authority we have in this council. And I have proven that at the same time, we will not let people from outside divide us. We will not let them sow the seed of division in the borough to untangle the cohesiveness that's come together over.
It's a powerful agenda, though, isn't it, that's being brought to bear sometimes?
Absolutely. It took on a lot of effort, energy, resources over the last 15, 20 years to bring all the communities together. 25 years ago, we had Derek Beacon, the first BNP council elected in the council from the island.
Murders on the street.
Racist murders. Al-Tavali was murdered on Whitechapel High Street, where the other Islamophobic, racist incidents in the borough. There's no room for that. Whatever we do, all of us must work proactively to keep the cohesiveness that exists in the borough. We've had threats from English Defence League over the last 2-3 years, and you know what? We fought them together. People of all races, all gender, all age, we've got together, all faiths, we got together. We placed the people of this borough first, and we have said we will not let you intimidate us, harass us, divide us, because we are one community, and what we have in common is far more important than our petty differences.
On the penultimate question, I wanted to ask you on a wider world issue. Obviously, a few councils have been flying the Palestinian flag in solidarity with what's happened in Gaza, and course, Tower Hamlets has been one of those. What do you say on what's going on in Palestine and the reaction in this country to it? What should the government be doing?
Sure. Well, I'm very pleased that we flew the Palestinian flag as a human being. The least I believe that we can do as a local authority to protest and to show our solidarity with those hundreds of young people, children, women, elders, people who have lost their lives, innocent people who are victims of crime in Gaza. I believe there needs to be a lasting solution in the Middle East. I believe the Israeli-Palestinian conflict needs to be resolved. A life lost, whether on the Israeli side or on the Palestinian side, is a life. It's invaluable. And the human lives is sacrosanct as far as I'm concerned. There needs to be a solution to prevent the loss of innocent life. The action from the Israeli state is disproportionate. For a race, a group of people to be imprisoned, encaged for the last 60, 70 years is unacceptable. We know civilized country, civilized world can tolerate that kind of behavior from anyone, should tolerate that. And how could the international world, United Nations and the Western powers, how could they have tolerated that situation in Gaza for the last 60, 70 years? It's beyond my comprehension. All I say, I'm not an international politician, or my job is to manage Tower Hamlets.
You're a little bit of an international politician.
I try not to. My job is to run and manage Tower Hamlets, but as a human being, as a resident, of course, what happens in another part of the world has repercussion in Tower Hamlets, because we're a small globe, we're family, so we need to see peace and tranquility in other parts of the world. And my request to our Prime Minister, to our leaders, great leaders, whether in America, whether in Germany, Russia, other parts of the world, please come together. If we can find a solution in South Africa, if we can find a solution in Ireland, Northern Ireland, of course we can find a solution in the Middle East and resolve the Gaza-Israeli conflict. I believe there needs to be a two-state solution. The Palestinians certainly need to have self-determination, need to have respect, they need to be given a chance to live and support the children. At the same time, the Israelis need to feel they have the security, but not security at any cost. There needs to be mutual respect, and I believe if there's a willingness on the West, they can bring the Israelis around the table and they can persuade them to find a long-term solution. But a solution respects another human being, a solution that gives another human being a future of respect and dignity.
In terms of Tower Hamlets, there's a Veolia contract which is obviously in the occupied territories, and some other councils have divested from that. What can you say about that contract?
Sure. I unfortunately not in a position to discuss in particular contract personally, in particular. But what I can say is this: there is a process. Obviously, contracts are subject to a process governed by European directives, and once it's up for tender, officers oversee that process. Obviously, I could have individual view, I could have personal views, but my views have to be secondary to a process that I have to support and I have to respect. But any comments of that nature, no doubt, will feed into a process.
So that could be discussed by the council, or
the process. Absolutely.
And finally, it's a great borough, a great place to live and to be. What do you feel the future of Tower Hamlets is in the 5, 10 years? What's the future of our borough?
I believe borough has always had a good future. We have fantastic energy, human resources, quality in the borough. If Tower Hamlets is a multicultural, such a multicultural borough. It's a microcosm of what of what this country is, what London is. Very diverse, inclusive, energetic. Given those qualities, I believe it has a good future. We have Canary Wharf, second largest financial district in Europe, in my borough, and I'm really grateful for that. Provides some 100,000 jobs. What I want to see how we tap into those opportunities, whether it's in part of the Whitechapel vision, where we want to create, thousands of jobs, homes, retail units, or tapping into the existing infrastructure in Canary Wharf, taking advantage of that.
Though, because it's going to be very difficult to ensure that Tower Hamlets doesn't get gentrified or priced out.
Absolutely. There's no wrong with gentrification, but gentrification that accommodates local people, is affordable to the local community. So on each occasion, planning application, or when I'm talking to inward investors, we clearly put forward, asked cards on the table, and we say, look, this is how we want to see development that accommodates, respects, and supports and promotes the local community. So I believe our community has a fantastic future. Our kids are doing well in education. They will be doing far better in years to come. And I think it's about going forward in dignity, but as a one community. That's important, so we don't leave people behind.
And do you ever feel frustrated that you don't have necessarily the powers to do exactly what you want in this borough? Like, it is constrained by a system, and we can't have the ideal world. Do you ever feel frustrated?
I'm an eternal optimist. I believe in the positive side of humans. I believe in always looking at things positively, finding solutions, then dwelling on negatives. And if you have those kind of attitudes and you work in partnership and as a team, I believe you can always find that you can solve problems. Yeah, it may not be the ideal solution, but there's always a solution that can better the community that you want to serve.
An optimistic final answer, Lutfur Rahman. Thank you very much. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you, and I'm grateful. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. A pleasure. Thank you.